Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to episode number 4 of In the Dark. Of course, with me tonight is Maryam Henein. You can find her work on YouTube at Maryam Henein and also on Twitter. Maryam, welcome back to the show. You're muted, Maryam.
Good evening. Hello.
Bonsoir, bonsoir. Thank you for being here, Maryam. And of course, a returning guest to the show, LITECOIN Lisa. You can find her at LITECOIN Lisa on YouTube and at Lisa Mighty Davis on Twitter. Lisa, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I have so much in my head.
Oh, I can't wait. I know we were talking about this in the pre-show to kind of organize our thoughts. I can't wait for you guys to share this with the audience. This is going to be an amazing episode. Of course, we have Amy Fulmer coming back to the show as well. AmyFulmer.com is her website. She's the author of the book. Let me bring it up so you guys can see it. Don't Trip, Potato Chip. Amy, welcome back to the show.
Hi, guys.
Bonsoir. And of course, last but not least, my co-host for this evening, Mr. Dave Bronan. You can find him on LinkedIn at Dave Bronan. Dave, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Good to see everybody again.
Awesome. It's funny. I was listening in to both Lisa and Amy on their show. I believe it was yesterday. And Lisa says, we're going to be on Jean-Claude's show tomorrow night. I think maybe it's the last one. I'm like, you're right. Maybe after this one, we'll have an In the Light show. But at some point, we'll be in the light. Right now, we're still in the dark, folks.
In the dark, right.
Happening here. And of course, I'm really excited to have Maryam, Amy, and Lisa and Dave with me to decode all of this stuff with you guys tonight. And we kind of pick straws here tonight. Amy's going to start an amazing piece of research that she's been up to this week. So she's going to share with us what's going on in Myanmar and how all of this connects to Mr. Obama and perhaps more here on Capitol Hill. So Amy, take it away. Let's get started.
All right, you guys. Well, listen, even though the show is called In the Dark, hopefully you won't be in the dark so much after the show. I mean, the whole point is to bring in the light. And I came across this document, and Maryam, if you know anything about this, chime in, but this kind of blew my mind. And I'm going to go through the document, and then we have a little news clip that's inside the document that we're going to play. But the importance here, you guys, is I determined we're impeaching the wrong president. We shouldn't be impeaching Donald Trump. We should be impeaching Barack Hussein. And let me tell you why. In 2017, there was an article in the New York Post that had referenced him in an interview with Lou Dobbs. And basically, he has been training, he meaning Barack, has been training tens of thousands of Marxist activists, insurrectionists. And here is the proof. So this week, the FBI has been going door to door to invade and find out who was at the Capitol on January 6th and who invaded the Capitol. And they're even busting into people's homes that weren't even in the Capitol. And they're just trying to get people that they thought were supporters of Trump in trouble for something they didn't even do. When in reality, Paul Sperry, who is a columnist for the New York Post, he did an article about Barack Hussein in 2017. And he figured out that Obama trained tens of thousands of organizers in the Alinsky Tactic Boot Camp, okay? And what you have is you have this man named Alinsky, who is the father of community organizers, and he trains his followers in very nefarious things. So Obama, since 2017 and all the way till now, runs a very definitive organization that trains these people to look as conservatives. These people are told to pose as conservatives and then go into all these variety of situations and cause mayhem. So what we have here is this little article that documents everything. And Sperry took the opportunity to remind his readers about a report he gave in 2017, Fox News host Lou Dobbs, about where he discussed a shadow government organization that was meant to sabotage President Donald Trump. And the New York Post columnist Paul Sperry joined Dobbs to discuss Obama's shadow government organization. And he trained these people in boot camps, and you have an Obama-friendly media, and they're going to keep trying to cover up all of this. They will keep it on the QT as long as they can so that Obama can get this shadow government and build this up. I do not think the Republicans know what they are up against. He meaning Barack Obama, is quietly building this shadow government to sabotage Trump, and Republicans are not paying attention. He is doing this through a radical, he meaning Obama, a radical Alinsky group called Organizing for Action. Now, Organizing for Action is Obama's organization. Evidently, it's on his website. I haven't verified it, but I've verified it secondarily. And he refers to it as OFA. And note this language, you guys. They have an army, meaning this organization from Barack Obama, have an army of agitators, and they are going to be fanning out and going out to hit Republicans even harder at town halls. Now, Obama's organizers pretend to be Republicans. Dobbs said something interesting in 2017 with Sperry, and we're going to listen to that clip at the end of this little report. He said something interesting. We see some of that play out in professional town hall meetings, and some of them are being styled as being Republicans and conservatives who are rising against the Republicans and conservative representatives. This was back in 2017. Well, this is exactly what happened on January 6th. This is what they're impeaching Trump for. The reality is that Obama has this organization where he trains these insurgents. They go out, they run havoc, they act like conservatives when in reality, they're trained insurgents. We believe there are close to 30,000 organizers. They turned the campaign into a 501c4, which evidently is some kind of legal organization. Get this, you guys. They are professionally trained agitators. Look at this language. They are professionally trained agitators. Over 32,000 have gone through, this is the training that Obama provides, and 25,000 more are going through. And the protests are going to hit hard, Sperry said in 2017 in this interview with Lou Dobbs on Fox. So then they go on to say that Alinsky, now this is the training method that Obama is using. I want you guys to hear this because this is very frightening. Saul Alinsky is considered the modern father of community organizing. Now, pause a moment. In 2016, when Obama ran, his big thing was he was a community organizer. And I remember that was his platform. And everyone thought, oh, isn't that wonderful? He's a community organizer. And I'm like, well, since when does a community organizer make you fit to be president? And I'm like, okay, fine. It sounds nice. Now I'm understanding that the term community organizer is tied in to Saul Alinsky's training, which is a progressive training by the Progressive Party, the deep state. So what this organizing method does, the Saul Alinsky, is they perfect a cold detachment from all morality and ethical constraints, teaching his followers in tactics used by psychopaths and totalitarian regimes on how to deceive people and corrupt an open society. That's the training. This is the training that Obama is providing 50,000 plus agitators. let me say this again. Alinsky is teaching his followers in tactics used by psychopaths and totalitarian regimes on how to deceive people and corrupt an open society. That's what they're trained in. Alinsky was instrumental in the riots, uprising, and corruption of the American church in the 60s, teaching groups to unify with each other from the upper-class suburbs to guerrilla third world urban areas under his ideals put forth in Rules for Radicals. Now, there's a link. I clicked on that. You guys can click on it too. It links you to that ideology, Rules for Radicals, I think right there, Jean-Claude. And if you click on that, there we go. That will bring you to this document. This is the document that Hussein is using to train these agitators. It's my theory that these are the agitators that posed as Trump conservatives that overtook the Capitol on January 6th. I don't know that part to be a fact, but when I went through all of this, my mind started going crazy. I said, wait a minute, these guys were posed as conservatives. They weren't conservatives. They weren't MAGA people. And that's what this method is all about. And this is what Hussein is doing. So there are numerous organizing manuals merged with the ideas of community organizing, and they are associated with the Marxists, Leninists, and Maoists. All, hear this, you guys, all movements to destroy individual civil liberties. That is huge. That is what is happening right now. The left is an insurrection-making machine, and they are open about their purpose, even offering college classes and degrees in community organizing, which is to go around, hear this, you guys, this is their premise, is to go around the U.S. voter and make social changes where they cannot get voter support. So their whole thing is, well, we don't care what the American people vote for, we just go around them. ACORN is a community organization group from the mid to late 70s that many people are familiar with. I've heard of ACORN, A-C-O-R-N. There are more recent manuals. All right, you guys are going to remember this. In 2012, Manual on Defunding the Police, here we go, written by Kamala Harris's sister, that helped develop the Trayvon Martin events. Remember that in 2012 when that young boy Trayvon Martin, I think he was killed, to bring about a movement to defund the police departments. Now, Jean-Claude, I believe you're on the link. If you click on that link, Organize for Change, that is what, oh, surprise, surprise, Kamala Harris. Oh, gee, where have we heard her name before? Her sister organized this whole thing. It's getting incestuous as hell. And there are many more toolkits and organizing manuals to teach people how to overthrow, note the language, overthrow the U.S. Republic by forcing social justice demands to go around the U.S. voter. Okay, Barack Obama is the world's most famous community organizer, and he has never stopped organizing. Sperry's reminder this week should help us understand our current state of affairs. You bet that right. For all the people that are giddy over Barack Obama and his wife, Michael, maybe might want to start to research this. Now, Barack Obama and generations of activists and community organizers developed a system with a multi-pronged, from cultural Marxism to government policy to law enforcement, that was an attack against our mutual republic. And most Republicans have ignored all of the danger signs, preferred accepting the corruption rather than face it. Maybe they were paid off. The American media has provided cover for all of them. Will the liberal media report on this? Dobbs asked in 2017. Well, have you heard about it before? People in DC knew full well what was happening. Following is from a 2018 New York Times article. So in 2018, the New York Times did a little dossier on this, and they talked about Barack Obama's organization, the group Organizing for Action, which emerged from the vestiges of Mr. Obama's old campaign operation. Okay, this is the part you have to hear, you guys. Intends to deploy organizers in 27 Republican-held congressional districts that could be key to a Democratic takeover of the House of Representatives. Their mission, officials with the group said, will be to coordinate and train volunteers and deploy them to help Democrats in states from California to North Carolina. Note the words deploy. It sounds like a military operation. In addition, the organization will focus on several elections. Hello. And may affect the redrawing of the congressional map after the 2020 census. These include races for governors in states such as Florida and Wisconsin, and redistricting themed ballot referendums in Colorado and Michigan. Organizing for Action previously announced it would partner in 2018 with a committee led by Eric Holder Jr., Mr. Obama's former Attorney General, to attack legislative gerrymandering. The new effort offers fresh insight into Mr. Obama's political agenda for 2018. The Organizing for Action campaign emerged in part from a February meeting between the former president and strategists, including Kate Hogan, the group's executive director. In the meeting, Mr. Obama conveyed in no uncertain terms that recapturing the House and helping Democrats gain more influence in the redistricting process were two of his top goals, people with a familiar conversation said. This is an all hands on deck moment for the progressive movement. Progressive, you guys, note the word progressive. He said, we're all fired up that OFA, Obama's organization, can play its part in doing what we do best, community organizing. And just like Steve Bannon, strategist to President Trump, has repeatedly said, show me a community organizer and I will show you someone who will kick your ass. Bannon knows, and now we all should. So if you, Jean-Claude, want to play this little clip up in the middle with Lou Dobbs, this was the clip from 2017 that encapsulated this.
This one here?
Yep, that one right there.
Yeah.
He's being interviewed by Sperry, who is a New York Post columnist.
And you want me to play this full 4 minutes, or is there a timestamp you want?
No, if you want to, if we have time, because it really encapsulates everything I just rambled on about.
Okay, perfect. I'll put it full screen here. Dave, let me know right away if you hear this properly.
Paul Sperry, New York Post columnist, author of The Great American Bank Robbery, and he is writing on what is the resistance, the shadow government being formed by Barack Obama. And first of all, thank you very much, and my congratulations on outstanding reporting. I wonder to what degree the national liberal media will even pay an ounce of attention. Will they have the courage, the principle, to report on the things that you and I are talking about here tonight?
Just so you know, guys, if you can still hear me, the humming is in the background of that video. It's not on board this computer, so I really can't fix it. Hopefully, you guys can bear with us while we play this. Anyways, we can still hear the two reporters talking.
Well, of course not. I mean, you got a Obama-friendly media, and they're going to try and cover this up and keep it on the QT as long as they can, so that Obama can get this, like I was calling it in the column, a shadow government, build this up. I don't think Republicans know what they're up against here. He's quietly building this shadow opposition government to sabotage Trump and Republicans as well in their policies, while at the same time saving his own legacy. And he's doing all this through a radical Alinsky group that he founded called Organizing for Action, OFA. And they've got an army of agitators, and they're fanning out. They're going to hit Republicans even harder next week when they go home for recess back to their home districts.
And we're watching some of that unfold in the congressional town hall meetings, some of it being styled as Republicans and conservatives rising up against their Republican or conservative representatives, which is utter nonsense, as we both know. How serious do you believe this is? We're talking about, as you suggest in the column, something north of 30,000 people in OFA. And they didn't even tip their hat. It could have been Organizing for America, but it had to be for action. Where is this headed?
Right. Well, they took it out of the Obama campaign in 2012. It was part of that campaign, and they turned it into a 501c4 so they don't have to show their donors. And what they're doing, so basically starts at a training center, and they put these aren't like the rabble from Occupy Wall Street or even Black Lives Matter. These are professionally trained agitators that are schooled in Alinsky's rules for radicals tactics at a program that lasts 6 weeks. And that's about 32,000 who've gone through that, over 32,000. They've got another 25,000 who are under training now, and they've got another big training summit coming up in March. And we haven't seen the worst of these protests. These are really going to hit hard. But Obama's the guy who's behind all this. He's the mastermind. If you look at his website, down in the little print, this new website, post-presidency, little agate type down there, 2 organizations listed. One is, I don't know if you can see this, OFA, Organizing for Action. The other is the Obama Foundation. And eventually, he wants to merge them. And if they can get the DNC, which Obama wants to get his guy, Tom Perez, this radical civil rights chief he had, in the helm at the DNC, you get all this together, and then they get the proprietary database of the voters from OFA, which is licensed, and they've never shared that before with the DNC. You get the email list, millions of Obama supporters from OFA, and you get the donor list. And once the DNC gets that, you have a superstructure, and that's going to be a formidable organizing infrastructure. And
around that organizing superstructure that will be unprecedented, you already have many, if not most of the technology. The large technology firms are already in alliance with him, as is the national left-wing media, as is the national left-wing academia, our colleges and universities, and of course the left-wing media. And so it is an extraordinary development, and they mean business when it comes to obstructing and bringing down this administration. Paul, we'd like you to come back as soon as you can and to continue the discussion on this, because this is the critical issue right now, I believe, facing the country.
Wow. Fascinating. Quite fascinating. And funny how that guy just lost his job, by the way, Lou Jobs, last week while we were on the show.
Oh, okay.
Right. Maryam, can I take well, first of all, Amy, thank you so much for all of this. This is very important, and I think it brings a lot of context to what we're seeing now. Is there any more points that you wanted to add to this for the discussion as we open the roundtable here?
No, just that the first thing that came to my mind when I uncovered all this was that A, we're impeaching the wrong person, and B, these activists are deeper and wider, and I didn't realize that they were posing as either MAGA people or conservatives, and this is so nefarious. And if people don't start to see this being uncovered, especially we all have leftist people that just think Obama is fabulous and his wife is fabulous and he's going to be the best president. We need to get this information out, you guys. This needs to be shared, because in the link of the article are links to his organization and specifically saying what he does, his mission statement. And to me, it's a game changer, because now we have facts. We have the name of an organization. We have a training that's taking place. These are the same people, I believe, that walked into the Congress on January 6th, and Trump is being framed for citing violence when it's actually Barack Hussein Obama. And that's what I think.
Wow. Maryam, let me bring you on the screen here. I know you've been doing a lot of work on this inauguration and kind of unmasking those who were masked and where they were coming from and who they were actually working for here. So let's dive in here and give the audience here your thoughts on all of this.
Thank you, Amy. That was a wonderful presentation. That clip is from 2017, you said?
Yeah,
So
the Lou Dobbs.
What came to mind was one that the military intel officer that I spoke to said that these some of the people that were brought in were. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The people that were brought in, the people at the siege were brought in and were trained overseas, and that's one thing that came to mind. Two, Acorn, Project Veritas was instrumental in exposing Acorn and the web, the incestuous web, where we see, the usual suspects over and over again. Also, what comes to mind is I can say so much about this sham show circus impeachment trial, but the FBI, there's a clip that I shared. It seems that the FBI is helped plan this. Yeah. And if this was planned for weeks and weeks, why are we having this sham show to say that he stoked the fires when this was in motion? As I've said before, it's a broken telephone. Every time we hear the deadly insurrection, it gets worse and worse. Like today I heard they got bludgeoned. Who got bludgeoned? Oh, everyone thought they were going to die. With what? Nobody had guns. It's quite nefarious. The shadow government has been in motion. And I do think, a lot of the people that were arrested, they've gone on record, the media, and to say that a lot of them were former military. The clip that I shared, JC, I think is worth sharing about the FBI's involvement.
Let me bring that up. And as you were just mentioning here, how the narrative keeps changing and making it worse and worse and worse. Here we had Anderson Cooper comparing the Trump supporters with perpetrators of the genocide in Rwanda and Bosnia. Now, come on. Oh my God. Okay.
Yesterday at the trial, now it's 7 people that have died. So they're including the 2 suicides as part of the deadly insurrection.
Yet, during the whole BLM summer and Antifa summer, we were up to 19 or 20, but you don't hear about that. I have a few notes to bring on Amy's presentation, but let me get you started here, Maryam. Which is the link that you want me to bring forward? The from your Avengers site or
yes,
the Adbuster one?
The first one, the Telegram one.
Okay, let me bring that up. Oh shoot, I don't have Telegram installed here. Oh, maybe I can view it. View on channel. Can I see that here? No. Do you guys want to do a share screen from your end and bring it up?
Me? Yes. Okay.
Sure.
Let me see. I'm traveling, so I don't have my 3 monitors. Or let me see if I can do this.
Or anybody else? Dave, can you pick up that link from Maryam's?
Okay. Yeah. If you can do it, Dave.
Yeah, from the private chat here and bring it up on
your
your phone.
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay, cool. While we're doing that, I'll bring up this tweet again from Anderson Cooper, because again, it was just like, seriously, genocide now. Do you know the definition of genocide? Is sure as hell not all of these people chanting and dancing open hand with no weapons on Capitol Hill. It's just ridiculous now. Oh. They're changing this narrative. It's incredible.
It's so ridiculous, and unfortunately, yesterday, Castor and Schoen did not do a good job defending the president. I don't know, Lisa or Amy or Dave, if you have, or you, JC, have comments on that.
I do. I think the Democrats are doing a grand show of all of this. It's like all, flares and light shows and all of this, and twisting the arguments of all these dead people and blah 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 blah. And yet these Republican lawyers are talking about constitutional law and this, like. if you actually wanted to do a dog and pony show like the liberals are doing here, because of all of this to me doesn't matter other than in public opinion, you would bring up the Kamala Harris, you would bring up all of these people who were actually inciting violence during the BLM and the Antifa peaceful protests last year. There's clips and clips of those guys actually saying the words that they're trying to pretend Trump actually said on Inauguration Day. So it's very, not on Inauguration Day, but on January 6th. Very frustrating. Dave, were you able to bring up that clip or no?
Yeah, I got the clip. I had to do some rigging
Okay.
up things on my end. But
Thank you.
so I just want to make sure it's the right clip. So I'm got some share screen stuff to do here, and then we'll
Okay.
get this rolling. So
Very quickly then, while we're doing that, Lisa, do you have any points to make about these Republican lawyers kind of calling it in, I guess, if, for lack of better words? What's going on with all of that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, especially after today, I have a totally kind of different look at it. I think that we're watching a movie. Once again, I think this is the constitutional education of America. I think all this stuff had to happen. I think that all the bad guys were arrested and taken down in 2016. If you watch my show today on Woo Woo Wednesday, I kind of unpack how there was this unusual, I can't remember the wording. Hold on. I can't find the link. There was a holy year. So this is a holy year, 2021. So then I started looking into that, go back, and there was a extraordinary Jubilee of Mercy in 2016. And I go into the details about how there were some things done that had never been done before. 2 popes, all
yeah,
this forgiveness.
I saw that. Hold on, Lisa. That's too much to get into, but I want you to
Yeah.
actually get into that and take the time you need.
I'm not going to go
break
into
that
all
out.
of it. I won't go into all of it because we don't have the time for all that. But
Right.
you guys can go back and watch my show from today and see that. But to me, this is just as far as I screen shared this, which I shared yesterday on Amy and I's show about the Myanmar, the military officer saying, and there's a video of this in the Telegram, but he's saying that the reason that the military took control was because there was a false election, which brought in this criminal government, and that the military took it back. And they say soon the military will assure a real democratic election procedure again and eliminate foreign forces that are manipulating the democracy, not only in Myanmar, but also globally, as the 2020 U.S. election has proven. So this is a darkness and light. This is a bigger than America. This is bigger than this election. This is a global universe fight. And I think that what we're seeing on the information that's being brought out through this impeachment may flip and bite them in the butt, because what they're doing, like today when I was listening, they're basically putting Proud Boys and all these people on trial, not actually Trump, but they're blaming Trump for these other people's behaviors, and they're spinning and cutting words and, making it all turned on its head. But I think they're also bringing up that Trump used the narrative of a false election to get these people to be so incited. And then that brings up the fact of, okay, let's talk about this election, because we know the Navarro report came out. There is proof of this false election, and now there's more information about it happening on a global level. So I kind of think that this is already happened. I have a lot of peace about it. I think we're being shown a lot of things. I think it's wonderful that people are excited about digging into all these details, learning about the stuff that, Amy brought up with Obama. All that will be exposed through this process. but I kind of think it already happened.
Okay, very good. So, Dave, I have your clip here, and before I bring that up, I do want to thank our Patreon tip jar, our PayPal tip jar supporters tonight. Joseph Rocco, thank you. Charles is saying, thank you for bringing such a wide variety of perspectives and guests to us. Love your channel. Thank you. Josica, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And Robert, thank you for your continued message of hope and empowerment. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so Dave, let me bring up this slide. This is the one, Maryam, you want to play? Is this the one?
Okay.
Yes.
So, Maryam, go ahead with your presentation.
This is John Solomon, investigative journalist. He's going to speak about a recent arrest. And now there's an echo. Before we start, I just want to say to the audience and to y'all, let's consider who's producing this show that we have like ready to queue, and we have all the I'm talking about the impeachment trial where they have all the clips ready to go, and how beautiful that we have the blessing of having a BLM attendant, John Sullivan, and we have to, thank God for him. We get to see Ashley Babbitt's death. Is it that the government is using footage from a BLM participant who was inciting violence by saying, yeah, I have a knife and everything else? How effing crazy is that?
Maryam, did you see today during the impeachment hearing that the Democratic lady was up there? I'm sorry, I don't know her name. She was, doing her drama talk. And then there was a Republican lady that came up, and Steve Mnuchin jumps up and runs over to adjust her podium and all that. I'm sorry, but that's kind of a job that a producer does on a TV show or a movie or something. So
wasn't Mnuchin in Hollywood at some point?
Yeah,
he actually worked at Castle Rock Studios.
Wow. Oh, that
Something
sounds
like that.
familiar. We kind of did a show on that with Cliff Hyde the other day. Anyways,
This
I'll bring
is
that up
so
later.
about exposing the truth, and that's where I don't know. I'm excited. Got my popcorn.
Well, do you think, Lisa, that they're going to do a better job? From my understanding, I listened to it, so I listened to 7 hours of hearing. But do you think Thursday and Friday, I think, is when the defense, I really hope they're going to do a better job. It's true, they were just rambling on, and then they congratulated congratulated the other side.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's not, they've even said, this doesn't matter. We know it's not going to pass. We know we're not going to get 17. They're just using this to divide the people more. And I think just like with Amy's research, she found out that, they were putting these people in place to look like MAGA or to look like whatever. We already saw the horn guy, which people have said he's actually like 3D or 4D chess. They have been infiltrating BLM and all these for a long time. So it's like, oh, the good guys infiltrated the bad guys, which infiltrated the good guys, which infiltrated the bad guys. So, I don't know. Right.
It sounds like an old Maxwell Smart episode. I know that you know that you know that I know that you know that I know that you know. Anyways,
right. So
Harley Davidson here is saying, hey, he's made several movies. Where you been, JC? Yeah, I was being sarcastic. Of course, I know. That was the point. I'm trying to bring levity to the show, guys. Okay, let's bring up this clip again here. So is it properly set up? Do you want us to play this, Maryam, now?
Yes, play it.
Okay, give it a try.
Are we playing the whole video?
Yes, please.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Going to be, I think, a lot of big questions for the FBI as an institution when you look at the role they played in the Russia collusion hoax, given your reporting about the origins of the Christopher Steele dossier, about all of those things. Yeah. The same FBI now apparently missing a lot of these big cues about what was going to happen at the Capitol. But it sounds like there may also be another FBI connection here. Yeah. You have in your article as you do with all of the articles, you have a dig in section where you actually allow your readers to see the work that you do. And you've got in there an indictment, a charge against one Thomas Caldwell. Tell us about Thomas Caldwell.
So he's one of the 12 people that are charged with conspiracy. What does that mean? They were planners. They were conspiring long before the day of the event. He's a Virginia man, Northern Virginia. His lawyer made a filing in court late last night.
Yeah.
We have not been able to get the FBI to confirm this, but in this filing, the lawyer says, my client worked for the Navy for a long time. He had a top secret clearance for many, many years. And from 2009 to 2010, he worked for the FBI at the level of section chief. That's very senior. That's like the equivalent of a special agent in charge of an office at headquarters. Very senior job. The idea that an FBI man is somehow involved in this, if that turns out to be true, it's going to turn the scrutiny even more into what the Bureau was up to and why it might have looked the other way or missed some of this information.
Yeah, and this is a huge potential development.
Yeah, right.
We need to verify this.
That's right.
But one of the individuals charged with conspiracy, charged with, again, our viewers know this, for working with others to plan this, was, his lawyer claimed, someone who worked at a senior level in the FBI less than a decade ago.
Exactly. It's a real shocker. And again, he said this under penalty of perjury, so the lawyer could be held accountable if it's not true. We're trying to dig in and find out about it. There's another moment today, I think, that also resonates with this line of reasoning that's now becoming apparent to the American public. And that is, the president's lawyer said, all the people that have been charged with doing something terrible at the Capitol that day, rioting, assaulting police, not a single one of them has been charged with conspiring the president. Why is that? Because no one can prove the president encouraged him to do that. Right. I thought that little moment where, hey, federal prosecutors have had a month to suggest the president was involved in this and did not. That was a very dramatic moment that, common sense jury goes, yeah, that's a good question. Why hasn't the president come up with these documents? Yeah. The answer is, it was all pre-planned well before the president's speech.
Yeah, so there's no evidence of that. And then again, you've got the story out about the evidence that is emerging of the pre-planning. Thomas Caldwell, one of the individuals charged with conspiracy, and according to his lawyer, a Navy veteran, top secret security clearance. And let's break down for our viewers, a section chief for the FBI, equivalent of what we'd call a SAC, a special agent in charge. It would be, if there's an FBI field office or a Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms field office in Chicago, the SAC would be the person in charge of that entire office. It's a fairly senior position in the FBI. At least that's what the lawyer is claiming.
Yeah, and it's a rare moment when someone just jumps from the Navy or any civilian or other sector to a SAC job or to a section chief. Or, so normally you have to work your way up, agent all the way up. Right. So there's something unique about his entrance into the Bureau. Doesn't mean anything. There was, he was a disabled veteran, so he may have gotten some preferential hiring. But whatever the case is, it's a very rare moment for someone to come in and then a few years later be identified as one of the perpetrators, and the FBI not tell the court about it when they indict the person.
Okay. That was pretty crazy. Who wants to go first here? Maryam? Let me unmute your mic, Maryam. You're muted. There you go.
Apologize. I'm curious to hear what you have to say. What do you think of that? I mean, it speaks for itself. It's go ahead.
Lisa? Oh, you're muted, Lisa. Let me unmute you.
Sorry, I did that to myself.
Okay.
I think it speaks more to what's being uncovered of this, this takeover that's already happened, all this shadow government that's been going on, and it's just uncovering more of that, in my opinion.
Okay. Amy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, clearly the FBI is dirty as hell. These alphabet agencies are so infiltrated that what started out to be something that was supposed to help is ending up to cause incredible damage to our infrastructure as a democracy. And all of these people need to be arrested. But the problem is as I'm starting to see, I know Trump saw this, this is so big and so wide that, I mean, when you've got Barack Obama training 50,000 plus activists, I mean, this just boggles the mind. And the FBI, the CIA, the military industrial complex, you don't know who is who. So it complicates an already complicated situation. So I listen, I'm going, okay, well, what's really going on? I can't take anything at face value.
Right. I'm just bringing up this article again for the other people who are just tuning in. Yeah, the number of organizers here and how big this organization is really fascinating to me. Let me mute Maryam. I think you're giving us echo. So Maryam, I just muted you. What struck me today, too, as you were presenting this earlier, Amy, was this idea that the left was building an insurrection machine, right? And in this machine, there's all of these pieces. They've thought about everything, including legal fees to defend them, including pro bono lawyers to defend the BLM supporters, the rioters, the peaceful rioters, all these guys, the Antifa guys, right? And we had Kamala Harris even during these protests during the year saying, hey, we need to raise some funds. Let's go. We have to help these people come out. And I'm like, where the hell are all the Republicans right now? Like these lawyers are all shying away from supporting and defending, the grandma that was on Capitol Hill. Like, where'd they go? And of course, they don't have funds for all of this. Like, you could see how big this insurrection machine really is, and how much they've thought about it, and how much money is going into it. And that's the question: who's paying for all this? Like, if we did a money trail analysis. Okay, the Clinton Foundation, maybe the Obamas and all of that, but where above them is this coming from? Is it coming from the Vatican? Is that why we're seeing all of these archbishops dying all of a sudden in the same week? What are your thoughts on that? Maybe Dave, you've been quiet here for the whole night, so let me bring you in here. What are your thoughts on all of this so far?
I've been so busy doing other things recently. It's like, I got to get reconnected with the news. Well, so we're talking here, and thank you both, Maryam and Amy, for the analysis that you've done, the information you brought forward. This just reminds me of when our republic was established, there were fears of tyranny, and I would extend that to fears of corruption. So there's a lot of effort put in place to architect a government that's going to be for the people, of the people, by the people, and safeguards in place to prevent the inevitable temptation of corruption. As you have more and more power and more control in the hands of certain people, there's a tendency to want to continue to funnel that power and control in their direction. That's why we have a situation going on with not being able to say candidly what we want to say. Goes by another word, starts with C, but I'm not saying it for reasons that might be obvious. Not being able to use our 2A rights. Those are being depleted progressively. So, and then Amy, you said, something to the effect of, we don't know what's really true. What can we believe? What can we not? We don't know who the good guys are. We don't know who the bad guys are.
Right.
It's a crazy time. And I just hold out the hope that if some of the things we think might be happening behind the scenes with the military, and I'll just call it the plan. I think a lot of you know what I mean when I refer to it that way. If that's happening as we have been speculating, boy, I sure hope that brings a lot to light. But we've got now this piece you brought forward, Amy, with the Action for America. That scares the living crap out of me. And I'm thinking, okay, if you have tens of thousands of people that are on that bandwagon, getting training, they're activists or organizers is the term I think I saw. And they're enthusiastic about the elimination of civil rights.
Right.
So they want to live in a world like that. So what's the bonus for them? What's the incentive? What's the utopia that they see in the future if they're able to produce the result that they dream of? And maybe they have some exemption from the not having civil liberties, or maybe they just like to be living in a socialist communist world. So maybe somebody has something to add on that, because I'm trying to connect the dots. Like, what would incentivize a person to want to eliminate civil liberties? Destroy individual civil liberties.
Well, I have a thought on that. I understand that a lot of these trained insurrectionists are young men and young women that have come from very broken homes. So I think that someone like Obama is just cunning and nefarious enough that what they do is they prey. They go out and prey on lost teens that were maybe in juvenile camps, juvenile hall, had been in juvie, out on the streets. And I think what they do is they round up these lost kids and people that don't have a strong moral structure, people that don't come from a strong family structure, people that aren't maybe necessarily truly been educated in our Constitution, that don't understand what freedoms are. So these young people or middle-aged people, I don't know really, I'm going to assume they're young people because the pictures I've seen have been young people. These are lost souls. And so they get paid. They go through 6 weeks of training. I'm sure they feel like they're part of a family. I'm sure it's very seductive and it's very cultish, kind of like, Charles Manson. He lured these young women in. And I think when you have people that are powerful, and trust me on the money, Jean-Claude asked about the money. Listen, when you can print money, they're so far up. When you're Steve Mnuchin right next to Jerome Powell, getting money is not the problem. They've got all the money. All they've got to do is print it and write checks. That is not an issue. They want control. This has been a plan to bring down and fracture our democracy, because if they take out America, they take the globe down. The whole globe is watching this show right now. This is so important, you guys. I don't think we even understand in our brains, and I think that we're a pretty open group here. I'm very proud to be part of this group. I think that people that watch this show are really awake and learning and trying to understand. So we're on the leading edge, but I don't think we understand how important this is. And that's why I like this article, because if you don't believe me, and you shouldn't believe me, who's this girl on Jean-Claude's show, talking? There's links in there, and you can go back and link through, and you can see the documentation of this man's organization. And you know what? Follow the money. And the reason he made a corporation is so you can't see who the donors are.
Well, that's the name of the game. I mean, it's all these players have nonprofits. It's their Ponzi schemes. It's nonprofit. It looks benevolent, and meanwhile they're laundering money.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, and to Cliff High's point, talking about, you highlighted Cliff's point about the, Obama and crew engineered foster kid and child corrections programs, not just the child corrections programs, but if you look, and anybody can research this, like rap music, the big money in rap music, they all own correction centers, or a lot of them own correction centers. That's why they perpetuate the narrative and they get the music to say, be a gangster, you're a badass. It's a recruitment tool. And you can look at all of rap music and a lot of the music industry, and that they make more money on their correction centers than they really do on the music. But the music is just a recruitment tool. And then we also have to remember the indoctrination camps that our kids and people are in, that are teaching people. I hate to say it, but the whole Me Too movement is to empower people to be a victim. It wasn't about empowering being a survivor of something. It was saying, if I accuse you at all, I don't have to defend myself. And it was empowering people to be victims. Well, it's the whole enabled codependent relationship. The controller wants the victim so that they have complete control. They don't care what's best for the victim. It's not about what's best for the victim. It's about them having control. And that's what they want the American people and all the people in the world to just, the 2030 agenda, they admitted it. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. We'll be in control and you'll be a victim, and poor you, but we'll take care of you.
Mr. Klaus Schwab. Yeah. Maryam, I wanted you to touch on the FBI thing again here. I brought up just an example here of the botched Cliven Bundy case, where the FBI, of course, were withholding exculpatory evidence during the trial. And we've had other instances of this here since then. Let's talk about here their involvement and how it ties in with some of the characters that you've been following here since January 6th.
So they're putting billboards, like I think it was Lisa who said they're going, or Amy who said they're going door to door. And so there's billboards all over the country. There's no talk yet of any Antifa or BLM. Gateway Pundit did a good profile on some of the strange characters that no one's talking about during this trial, some of the reoccurring. So I would suggest looking at that. And I mean, Jacob, someone in the chat said that he was an intel officer. A lot of them that have been arrested have ties to the military. And James and John Sullivan, sons of Officer Kevin, retired officer who was playing one of his children, John, on the Antifa side, and then playing James on Sullivan on Proud Boys, and James ratted out his brother, which is very in vogue. Is that one of the posters?
Yeah, those I saw you post this earlier, I believe, on your Instagram, not Instagram, but Telegram. I don't see it on your Twitter. I was trying to bring it for the audience here, but at least
look at that.
Right.
So, they're sleazy. They're corrupt. Plus, was this Caldwell character, which I didn't get a chance to look into. I'm really, I guess, fascinated. I started reading a couple of books on false flags, and I mean, arguably, they've been around since the pirates, and all throughout our history in America and overseas. It's Hegelian. It's just you bomb your own, and then you blame someone else, and then you usher in whatever laws you want. In this case, the new updated Patriot Act, more regarding domestic terrorism. I was looking at the false flag history, and there's something else I wanted to bring up, but it's escaped. Oh yeah.
Well, while you think about it, I brought up your Telegram here. So, folks, if you want to stay in touch with Maryam, some of this stuff she can no longer post on Twitter. She keeps going into Twitter jail here. So please do follow her here on her new Telegram account. And in the last couple of days, she did post quite a few things from her research here on these organized flags. We'll just call them that here for now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. FFs.
Yeah, FFs.
FF. I've put in a couple of quotes, and what I recalled is I went back to, and I've mentioned this, the Adbusters White House siege that was in motion. I don't know if any of you recall that, but when President Trump said it's going to be wild, I kept on. I was like, wild. Why did I see that? So I put in a link, if you could, from Adbusters. And they have all this tactical briefings. It was as though they were casting, because they were like, hey, jammers, activists, BLM, Me Too, Occupy. The original plan was to go and hold the White House siege from September 17th to all the way to past the election, till the election. So if you scroll down, reoccupy. This is Tactical Briefing 11. They somehow, Adbusters is out of Canada. It's a magazine. They're incorporating this jazz theme. But if you scroll down, there's all the tactical briefings. But it says for the wild. So he uses Kali is his name, the editor-in-chief. He uses wild again. So it just, for me, it's just interesting that this is about occupying the White House and holding siege and kicking Trump out no matter what. And then you have Trump saying, come, it's gonna be wild. It's like, now in retrospect, what did that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, just so you know, Lisa had to go here. She's prepping for a very important day tomorrow. She had forewarned us that she had to leave at the 10 o'clock mark, but we were so busy here and I forgot to mention her. So thank you so much, Lisa, for being here on the show tonight. And let me just bring up her YouTube channel again here for people to go and subscribe to her YouTube channel. Let me bring that up so you guys can see it, where Lisa and Amy and many other guests are doing a lot of this legwork here throughout the week. So you guys can go check it out at LITECOIN Lisa on YouTube and also on Twitter at Lisa Mighty Davis. Okay, Maryam, sorry about that. Did you want to bring any more stuff? You gave me quite a few more links here in the private chat. What's next?
There was just one more link that to just put things in perspective of all the damages compared to the White House. So it was a Gab link.
Okay, I have it here. Oh yeah, I saw this. Okay, yeah, here it goes. I'll bring that up on the screen here. Yeah, there you go. Can you guys see that?
So,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just 2,385 looting incidents, 624 arson incidents. Thank you. 97 police cars burned, 2,000 police officers injured. No mention of this. No mention of any. It's like we had a very peaceful summer. No mention to put things in perspective.
Yeah,
of all
It
the
was a summer of
violence.
love.
it's the hypocrisy of all of this stuff, of course. Yeah, craziness. Dave, did you also have links, or Maryam, is there anything else you wanted to present here tonight? Anything else you're talking about here in the private chat you want to bring up?
At one point, I would like to ask or bring up what happened with Mike Lee towards the end and Raskin, and how they're already Tapper is already spinning it and saying that Mike Lee, Republican out of Utah. Basically, I'll just say it. That's all I have to toward the end of the 7-hour hearing, that they were about to adjourn, and Mike Lee said that he was misquoted and it was a lie in reference to the call, I believe, with the president, with the Georgia governor. Something was said, and so he wanted it stricken from the record. A very clear, simple request. And then they talked. They went into a holding pattern. The microphones didn't work. They didn't understand what he was asking, and he's like, listen, I'm the source, I'm the only one, I didn't say that. And then I believe they retracted it, but and Raskin says, oh, it's not pertinent to this case. So basically, we're living in vagueness. It's like vague is the new reality. Nobody cares about details. And everything's kind of vague with broad strokes, and you can make the narrative worsen every single day, amp it up. I mean, there's no lack of evidence. It's nobody's willing to even consider it. There's no meeting of the minds or willingness to solve this. It's just gaslighting, reversing the script. Everything that they're doing today, they said that the other side is doing.
Right.
That is the tactic. Amy, anything else you want to chime in here?
Well, I would just say that think mirror, that kind of ties into what Maryam has said. I was reflecting as I was reading this pretty precise article. The very thing that Trump is up on impeachment charges for is exactly what Hussein should be up on. In other words, if they're going to impeach an ex-president, they got the wrong guy. And I urge and implore people, just think for yourself. Think a minute. I mean, we have such beautiful this internet technology to hand feed you the information now, and we're all working very, very hard by posting links and all this data. You don't have to take anyone's word for it. You can go in and just Google up some of this stuff, and it's all kind of right there. And once you start to see the narrative, they are trying to take all the control back, kill what we have left of our Constitution, kill what we have left. They want to create a whole lowerarchy of serfs, and then a few rule at the top. And this, I'm not even addressing the fiscal situation. And so the point is now the waters are parting. And we can do things. We can do things. And Lisa and I show yesterday talked about some of the things that are starting to happen. But if you don't know if you don't even know what's going on, like Maryam says, you know, what used to be up is down. They want us confused, guys. They want us confused.
I'm seeing. Oh, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just don't be confused. Just put your thinking cap on and realize that God gave you a brain. They don't want you to use it. They don't even want you to think you have one.
Right.
And that's not the case.
May I say something to that?
Yeah,
Sure.
go ahead. Go ahead, Maryam.
I was thinking kind of like the opposite today. I was thinking, first of all, I don't recommend anyone use Google. No offense. And that if you're just tuning in and you're like, okay, I want to educate myself. Well, the system is rigged for confusion. And if you don't catch something from the get-go, and you just take a report, if you just listen to the impeachment trial, you didn't know any better. Right. They're painting. So you have to have a sense of discernment, or, okay, I'm going to look into Obama's past. I'm going to look into these links. But, you know, there's the Ministry of Truth is writing garbage, fake stories all the time. And you have to kind of look through and go, this is true. This is a lie. These are tries. They're mixed together. I mean, I think it's getting very, very hard unless you're really paying attention. And you have, like, I'll give an example. So finally, my mom saw Plandemic, and I said, so what do you think, Mommy? And she's like, Mary, I don't know who to believe anymore. And I'm like, well, that's what they want. But why don't you, believe your daughter, who's spent thousands of hours looking into this? So I feel like my mom is probably representative of, at least she's open to acknowledging that there's lies, but she doesn't know who to believe.
Right. I'm noticing that too now, both with the Trump derangement syndrome people that I know, even them right now, they're all like, what's going on? They're shutting off the TV. It doesn't make sense to them. They're looking at all of this and they're like, wait, that's not what? You could just tell they're all kind of like in a weird limbo state. I don't know what it is. And even the normies who are not political, they're all telling me the same thing. Like, I don't want to watch the news right now. I don't understand anything. Nothing makes any sense anymore. Here in Canada too, with all of these lockdowns, the narrative was waning back in November, early December, and people were like, F this, man, I'm going out, no more masks, all of this stuff. And then suddenly, miraculously, we had this new strain that was more deadly, that was more contagious, and we have to lock down again. And look at that. We're now in, mid-February, no evidence, no more deaths, no more cases. The hospital here in Ottawa is empty still. And again, that narrative is waning, and people are asking, what the hell is all this about? Like, when's this going to stop? And I saw this article today on Zero Hedge, and I think Cliff I replied to it. I'm like, 10 more years. Somebody was saying there'd be 10 more years of this COVID and rounds of vaccines. I'm like, 10 years. I mean, man, if people only knew what's happening in the rest of the world, like Italy, the thousands of restaurateurs who decided on one day, F this, we're all opening up. The government can do anything if we all stand together, right? We're not being shown this, of course, on the 6 o'clock news. So it'll take time for us, nice, peaceful Canadians maybe to realize the same thing in the States. Go ahead, Maryam. I have another point to make, but go ahead, jump in right now.
No, in the vaccine, right, basically they're saying, because there's so much vaccine hesitancy, it's going to take 7 more years for normality. It's like, if you want to go play outside, you have to eat your green beans. It's basically that kind of like reprimanding on a wide scale, and it's also amping up the snitchness of or the ridiculing or shaming of the other person who chooses not to get a jab. So I wanted to say that. Go ahead.
I want to jump in and say something about the gaslighting that I believe is integrated in the name that they're using. It starts with V, that goes along with the jab.
Okay.
Because that's an experimental biological agent. It's not
right.
the V that
right.
we're calling that's the
right.
jab. It's an experimental biological agent. So this gaslighting they're using is helping us believe they're lying to us about what it's actually doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's criminal.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure to get that out there, because there might be some people watching this now or when they replay it that are wondering, should I get the V? Should I get the jab? And if you understand what is, there's really good videos out there that explain and actually use the language experimental biological agent. If I can find the link, I'll post it.
Well, please do. And here in Canada, too, there was a court case just a couple of weeks ago. And of course, I'm searching Google here while I'm doing this, and I can't find it. Imagine that. But he won the case here to prove that this forced V was absolutely unconstitutional. So I don't know where the courts are going to go with this. They're not going to force it, but they're going to force it by other means. For example, saying, hey, you can't fly if you don't have this. But we're not forcing you to take it, right? So there's all these other tactics they're going to use. One thing I want to bring on for this show here, I've been discussing it on other episodes here, and it's this question of the fakery, the Hollywood set, the Potemkin village, basically, that we're watching right now. So I want to maybe take 2-3 minutes here to bring up some of the slides. We don't need to go into detail here, but I want to have your folks' opinion here for the audience who might be seeing this for the first time. I did one of the videos, I believe it was last Friday, with Cliff High, and then another one on Saturday where we kind of talked about this, but just for the record of this episode here. So a Potemkin village signifies a deceptive or false construct conjured often by cruel regimes to deceive both those within the land and those peering from outside, right? I believe this is what we're watching. Lisa believes that's what we're watching. That was part of her first presentation here tonight. We're getting all of these, I guess, phenomena that we saw in World War II, and I brought this up last time in the episode too, like of these ghost armies or these ghost armies setting up to kind of trigger the enemy into thinking that an attack was going to come over here versus over there. I think this is what we're seeing here when we're looking at Biden, of course, in the Castle Rock studios. This is a video that showed a panning motion here, and on those frames were caught basically the layout of this Culver studio here, these Amazon studios. So that's very fascinating to me. And of course, the last piece of news there, and you guys, I'll bring the links down here in a second here when I finish going through that. But what was fascinating also was this Air Force One repainted model. And of course, Snopes is up here for sure fact-checking this. So, you know, don't take anything we're saying. Snopes already fact-checked this. So anyways, I thought that's interesting. I wanted to bring that up. Maybe Maryam, do you have any thoughts on this idea of this Potemkin village that we're watching now? And also, one last point before we get into the Potemkin village. You, Amy, you just mentioned that basically Trump is being impeached for what Obama should be impeached for. This is not the first time. The first time they impeached Trump, it was for the exact same thing that Biden had done in Ukraine, right? So this is always their tactic, and we're seeing it playing over and over and over
and
again.
Oh, by the way, we're paying for this. This is being paid for out of our taxpayers' money, but yet they can't manage to come up with an extra $300 or $400 stimulus to people that need help. But yet they've got the money to put millions and millions into these fake impeachments. This is how off the rails this whole thing has become.
Right. And somebody's saying here in the chat, yes, it's a lawyer's name was Rocco Galati from Canada, who just won this court against the forced V. So thank you, Jacqueline, for that link. I'll try to find it as we go through the show here, and I'll bring it up for you guys. So going back to you here, Maryam, on this idea of Potemkin village.
Can you bring up the definition again?
Yeah, will do. There you go. Here you go.
I mean, it's all, it's the Matrix. It's all illusions. It's Maya. It's, and again, you have to have discernment. And I really think it's a phase now for many who've tried to wake others up that you can create heaven on earth. It's up to you to create your own reality. And you want to save others. But I mean, I think, like, again, as I said, you put down the oxygen mask first before you help your child. Right. So you need to be happy, and lots of people, preppers, have been saying to get off the land. I mean, just a small thing. I'm in Los Angeles now for a couple of days, and just being out of the city, I cannot tell. It's not imaginary. It's true. Being in the sun, going for a walk. So, this is deception. What's real? Friends, family, people you love, your health. and making the best in regards to prison planet. I mean, it's just, it's not so United States of America anymore.
Right. Amy, I want to ask you on this idea of Potemkin Village. Of course, the people who are awake here and who are paying attention see through the cracks. We see, the discrepancies in the movie set, so to speak. It's kind of cheesy when you really look at it. And that begs the question, how long do they plan on using this for? If it was for a longer period of time, wouldn't you think that we would have better set designs, better costumes, better actors, all of this stuff? An actual Air Force One plane for the president.
Yeah. Right.
What are your thoughts on the timing? And that
Okay.
That's
a great question, Jean-Claude. And I, if I had that answer, then I'd probably be ruling the world. But this is what my gut tells me. First of all, I say this all the time. We're all a little bit right. We're all a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Number one, I do believe it's a set. I believe the military is in control of the White House right now. Do I think Trump is going to get back in? I don't know. But what I will tell you is that whoever they are, the rhinos, the deep state, the bad guys, they are in full-blown panic mode right now. They are in panic mode. And I feel it. I think we're a lot closer. We, as the people, have so much more control than we think. And today the CDC came out, and now they're advocating dual masks. If you think, first of all, I won't even wear one mask. If you think I'm going to wear two masks, you've lost your mind. They can't make me do shit.
It's so people go, okay, I'll wear one. It's to get people to at least wear one. So
well,
or to eventually wear three, or to wear a whole, plastic bag and tie it around their neck just to make sure.
Right. So I think they're panicking. I think that we are nearing a breaking point energetically. I do think the light's coming in fast. And the reason I love these shows, Jean-Claude, and I love what you do, and Maryam and Dave and everybody, I feel that our message is getting out to more people than we probably know. And little by little, and Maryam, you're right, where do people go to get truth? There is no truth anymore. It's all lies. And you have to be discerning, but little by little things can wake people up. It's like popcorn. A kernel pops, and then a kernel pops, then two pop, and then three pop. Well, I'm seeing people I know little by little by little by little. That's how it's happening. It's a slog and it's slow, but it's happening. So I think that we might be closer on certain things than we know. But we may be more, I think we've got a lot of work to do. I do.
Maryam, back to you. Anything else you want to share?
Yes, there was something, and it just escaped me. Something that you said, Amy, and it just escaped. Another thing that I wanted to say is, imagine that we know the cases have been bloated, and now that they've brought down the cycle threshold, so there's less false positives. And so what if they lied about the deaths the first year, but what if it happens that then under Trump, he got blamed for everything. Under Joey, that's when the real deaths happen, but they're quiet because we don't know. It hasn't been reported, all the deaths because of the V, and they're happening. Maybe we know because we're keeping some type of tally, but are they releasing that to the world? I've tried to share an article about that. I can't share it on Facebook or Twitter. Mm-hmm. So I just put that, and then we look like a-holes because I'm just putting it out there that it's now, because they now want to normalize, like, Joey, yay, Joey, look, we're gonna get freedom now. Like they've but it's really normalizing, and you take a few steps front, and then you take a few steps back, and then you front, and 2 weeks to stop the spread. Yeah. So they normalize. They get people accepting the masks. They get people. It's just the overtone window. It's gradualism.
Here's where I'd like to finish the show with tonight. The only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. I was looking for this quote a couple of weeks ago. I had an interview, I forget which one, but I kind of got it in general. This is where we're at now. All these people who are still sitting on the fence, and they're telling me, "Oh, I don't know. I think they're lying to us. I think they're lying to us about the V. I think they're lying to us about the mask and all that." I'm like, "Okay, great. What are you doing about it? Are you speaking up?" "Oh, no. I want to stay neutral. I want to stay neutral, JC." I'm like, "Well, the more you stay neutral, the more they're going to cram into you, and at some point, there's nobody there to protect you, right?" So this is what's going on right now. And of course, we're all out here, we're trying to do our best, and yes, we make errors, we speak out loud, we're thinking out loud as we're trying to decode this stuff for all you guys here, but you can tell our honesty, and we're just trying to basically understand the world that we live in, and to share that information for those who want to listen to it and to empower themselves with it. But we want to encourage you to join us, to speak out, to do your own research, to talk to your neighbor, to talk at your, party and at the dinner table. My wife always goes and JC, stop talking. I'm like, no, it's time to talk. If we don't talk, we're all doomed. So I see you laughing, Amy. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I come from a family of talkers. So I love it. I love it. And I think right now with this whole mask thing, it's such a communication kill. I mean, I just was at the store today and like, it's so hard to smile at people, and it's so hard to interface. Right. That's what they want. Yeah. So I think that we need to rip those masks off. We need to communicate, hug, kiss, and basically, tell them to go F off.
Right.
Just F off. I mean, I had a neighbor that wouldn't even get near me today because we have mandated in the common area that we're supposed to wear masks. I never wear my mask, and she wouldn't get near me, and she wouldn't walk near me. Hey, you know what? That's her jam. It's not mine.
Right. I want to bring up another point here too, and maybe you guys can chime in. Dave, whoever has kids here, Grandpop was here today, came in for coffee, and he was like, "Oh, Jean-Claude, I noticed last week when I came over, the twins, the youngest, my twins, they look really shy. What's going on? They look shy with me." And so I asked the twins at dinner time, like, "Hey, girls, what's going on?" And Sophie, she looks at me, she says, "Well, Dad, it's kind of like we lost our social skills. We're so used to being cooped up with the mask. We can't see people smile and all that." Oh, fuck, it broke my heart. I'm like, yeah, I know. There's a problem with all of this. And some of it we're not seeing. Everybody's watching the Trump trial, whatever fake fucking thing it is right now. I don't even have a word for it. But look at what we're doing to our kids. I mean,
right. I mean, every time I see a little baby child that's unmasked on a walk, I'm thinking to myself, oh, there's some child abuse. But I know they don't see it that way, but I don't think they think of the psychological impact of that. So today when I went for a hike, it says mandatory. I'm not wearing a mask on a hike. Fuck that shit. It's not happening. It's not. So, but I was also so much more open, like, and people were receptive. Like I was smiling, I was making eye contact. I have more of an inclination to want to engage in a positive way, right, with people. And that goes back to like just gratitude, appreciation. Thank you, God, that I'm walking today, hiking. Thank you that I'm eating a maskless meal. Just the little things. If we can, because I really, for me, it took me a long time to cultivate gratitude because I was many years in physical pain. Mm-hmm. So I really invite people. And the one thing that I wanted to say that, Amy, you're talking about Air Force One, there's a woman on YouTube, I don't know the channel, but she goes every night to Culver City to Castle Rock Productions, and the White House set, and she films it every night. Like they must be cleaning in the evening, but I don't know what they're doing with that set in the day.
Right.
Dave, did you want to chime in here on the Potemkin Village, the White House set, the Air Force One, anything else? And also this idea of evil taking root when good men do nothing.
Right. I'll start with that, but I also want to go back to you asked about the kids aspect and the social awkwardness, let's say. So the quote that you had, for evil to triumph, it just takes for good people to do nothing. And the powers that be, we'll call it deep state, they're scared spitless that we will commune, will talk, will socialize, and anything they can do to divide us, and that includes the C word on the social media, that includes the masks and the distancing and not being able to go to places of worship and so on. But shows like this, where people can inform themselves, which is step one, awareness, inform yourself, then you can take action. And so everybody watching this show and the work that JC, Maryam, Amy, and Lisa, and many, many others. I saw Mel K the other night with you, Maryam, and JC. That was a great show. JC, thanks for your generosity for Maryam. That was awesome. I love that. My son and I were both watching that. But we can use social media, even with the constraints that we have, to join together, share our knowledge, and continue the red pilling and waking people up. So, and we're doing that. I just see how quickly we adapt. You can only keep people shut up so long, and they're going to find ways to communicate. They will not be silenced, and that's a really encouraging thing. The human spirit is very hard to keep down. As far as the children that you're talking about, your daughters with your twins with their grandfather, I'm a corporate educator. That's the fancy pants name for what I did when I was traveling worldwide, teaching tech support engineers how to solve the very hardest problems, and also teaching presentation skills for technical professionals. Yeah, there's the LinkedIn page, because it kind of gives you an idea about what I've been doing. But I used to do master classes in person, on site, 3 to 4 days typically with people, and then there were times where I'd had to teach remotely. And then when COVID with the CCP-19 hit, I would be doing it by way of something like Zoom, something called WebEx. And I know as a corporate educator that to deliver training over a medium, somewhat like what we're using now, like Zoom or WebEx, it takes about 25% longer to deliver the same idea. And then when you try to engage with your audience, there's a social aspect that a lot of people never do. But they try to engage. I try to engage with my audience, which I do a lot, and I teach people to do that. Engage with your audience. Here's some techniques. It takes about 3 to 4 times longer for people to react. It already takes a long time for them to react in a live classroom environment, because there's some social anxiety and performance anxiety, and like who's going to speak up first, and okay, the awkward silence long enough, and Dave's not breaking the silence, so I'll go. And that process takes longer on video. So I think of children who are forced to stay at home. They don't get to engage with peers. They're still developing these skills. They're young. They don't have, they're still forming these abilities. And they're losing precious time in a sweet time of their life to really maximize on developing these skills. And if they're doing it by way of video, and the teachers probably are not engaging with them as much, in some cases, maybe not. It's just, I think it's criminal. It's just, it's horrible. And it's bad enough with adults.
Right.
So just map that to children, and or my heart just breaks for them.
Yeah.
So they're, I had a little to say about that.
Yeah, very good. And it's funny, Grandpa was like, hey, Jean-Claude, you and I were supposed to go to New Mexico. I'm like, yeah, this whole year was kind of bum. I said, but if they do lift restrictions, he says, why don't we bring the twins with us if we go? Because it was supposed to be like a father and son thing. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That'll be fun. So they're all excited about that now. At least I gave them something to think about.
Breaking news.
Yeah, go ahead.
Massive, Zach just told me,
Washington, D.C.
Massive explosion in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
How convenient, a distraction, perhaps.
Right. Let's look, what, in D.C., like,
All I know.
okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt you.
I'm just looking for it now. If you can bring an article up here. I don't see it anywhere yet. Maybe on Twitter. Do you have it? Do you guys have a link you can point to?
Can you?
It's on Twitter.
One sec. I'll look for it.
Did this happen in the morning? Because I'm seeing stuff that was an early morning explosion in DC. An apartment, maybe.
Okay, while you guys looking for the link for that, please help me out here while we're live. Either Dave or Maryam, find the link for me. I'm just going to go ahead and thank the PayPal tip jar donators. Thank you so much, Jim Montgomery. Thank you so much, David Weiner, I think. Awesome. LOL, Maxwell Swart. Yeah, love Maryam. Hey, we love Maryam too. Thank you so much, David. And Russell, thank you. And Joseph, thank you so much, guys, for that. I really appreciate it. Oh, and Maryam, I have another donation for you that came in yesterday. And somebody wrote a note, hey, this is for that show 2 days ago. This is for Maryam. And so I sent him an email saying, yes, of course, I'll send this to Maryam as well. So you have another little tip coming your way as well.
I wanted to say thank you. If I can take a moment just to say thank you, and that just if you did listen to the show, I apologize again. There was a tech issue with the sound, and it came across as I was just talking over other people, which is not my style. So I apologize. But the comments were really cruel, and I'm sensitive. So thank you.
I want to speak to that also because I've had Maryam on my show quite so many times. We are good friends. We are good co-hosts, and I value her time, her opinion, her research. And it kind of broke my heart that some people thought that she was trying to take away the limelight or words to that effect from the rest of the panelists on Saturday night, which of course is not Maryam's style at all. For some reason, our connection, it appeared like we didn't have that full duplex. So while we were talking, we couldn't hear each other talking. And so and on top of that, we had lag. So it took us time to autocorrect to that. So I want to say that, and also want to thank you, Maryam, for bearing sometimes with some of these comments in the chat that are not always positive. But we do the work that we do, and thank you so much, Maryam. I appreciate that. And I just found the last gentleman who just sent a tip for you. His name is Thomas Hickey. Thank you so much, Thomas Hickey. Actually,
thank you, Thomas.
Let me bring that up here. It was
thank you everybody who gave donations. I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah, this one was after the fact. I think he watched the show in replay. So he said, please, if you don't mind forwarding this to Maryam, thank you. God bless. So
thank you. I put the link for from Candace about the explosion.
Okay, let me bring that up for the audience here. Copy. Okay. And I just saw a comment from Cliff. He said, was it a gas leak? Is that it? So let me bring this up for the audience here as we look at this. Can't confirm yet, but a neighbor saying that trucks were called ahead of a gas leak. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Our entire home shook. Okay, but do we know where the gas leak was? Like, is it actually on the Capitol? Is it in one of the government buildings?
Sorry, what is
this it? 1300 block of Vermont Avenue?
Yeah, maybe. Seems like.
Let me see if I can bring that up on the map. Somebody take the wheel here for a second here as I try to pull that up. Mm-hmm.
Take the wheel, Dave.
Take the wheel, Dave.
I'm just trying to think. I think I read
Volkswagen wheel, man. Take the Volkswagen. Come on.
Well, maybe the things that are on my mind are just like all the theater we're getting right now, and it's just amazing. And the whole Air Force One. After 17 days in office or 3 weeks in office, Biden's finally flying on Air Force One. And it's like, it's not. It's some different aircraft. So, it's comical to watch what's going on. Having some suspicion, at minimum, just being suspicious and skeptical of what's really happening. And it's funny to see these posts where they're trying to say, "Oh, he's flying on Air Force One finally," and it's just BS.
But doesn't the good guys win in the end of all these Hollywood movies?
Most of the time.
Yeah, who knows? So if this address is correct here in the tweet, 1300 Vermont Avenue, it's a couple of blocks away from the White House. Not too far, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 blocks.
It's not too far at all.
No. So that's interesting. It would be interesting to see here if I can zoom down to see, is that a government building? Or is that a residential? Whoop, sorry, guys. Let me see if I can bring that back out. Sorry here. Okay.
I like what Candace in the chat said. She said maybe some of the tunnels are being taken out. I vote for that.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Distribution center.
What is it?
Food distribution center. Mr. Cliff High. Remember the food riots and somebody would get into a building somewhere? I just see food distribution center right here next to this gas leak. So I'm wondering if this is connected to
Is that
maybe one of your WebBot hits. That's interesting.
is that the address? You zoned in on the address. Can you take a screenshot of that?
Yeah.
Because basically, that's news that you're just figuring out now.
So let me bring that street view here if I can and see what this thing looks like here. So what am I looking at? 1300, I believe. Is it this building here? Let me just turn around here. What were we looking at? Let me go back out for a second here.
1300 or 1500?
It said 13 in the Twitter feed. It said 1300 block Vermont Avenue Northwest.
Okay.
Also investigating smoke manhole. See the manhole, that could be something about the tunnels. Amy, I think you just mentioned that. So that is interesting. Huh.
What's the name? Let me look at it just says Food Distribution Center.
Right.
That's on North Street.
Right, just on the corner where this 1300 Vermont is. So it's right next to it.
But it could be anywhere on the 1300 block.
So Mary in the chat just said something interesting. She said her husband went outside, spoke to a fire chief. Apparently, explosion was a manhole cover blowing. Claims we are all about to lose power. So a manhole, I mean, again, I want so much the tunnels to be blown up so they don't traffic these kids. Let's just get down to the bottom line here. So, I mean, maybe that's my wishful thinking, but that's what's in the chat. It looks like someone on the ground in DC.
I'm Cliff, if you're in the chat still, I'm sending you the link to this show if you want to come on and talk about this WebBot here, because I think we might actually be seeing the language manifest here live. So let me just send you that stream link here. Sent. There you go. So you should see that, Cliff, in your inbox. If you do want to come on the show, absolutely, we have time, and we would love to talk to you about this. Okay, Amy, go back to your point you just made now, too.
So somebody in the chat, evidently, I think I read it correctly, said her husband went outside, lives in DC. It looked like a manhole blew. So for me, in my brain, I say, well, manhole, underneath the manhole is tunnels. So, of course, because the children are it's my thing, I want these arrests of these pedophiles. I want these manholes. I want the tunnels exposed. I want them blown up. I don't want them to traffic children. So that's where my head went. They're blowing up tunnels underneath DC. It's just a theory. That's all.
And I want to add to that here too. Of course, we're just thinking out loud. We heard reports of this. We can't verify them, but we heard many stories that there were two different types, or maybe more than two different types of military personnel in DC. So the above ground would be the National Guard. Some of them were deputized or words to that effect, but that there might be also special mission-oriented troops, Marines, possibly underground in the tunnels. So we've been hearing this for 2-3 weeks now. Of course, can't verify that, but this is in the mix tonight. So as we're looking at this, we need to consider that as well, that there might be something here. And also, my God, let me bring this one back up. Where is that? I have a slide somewhere. But basically, Cliff High, when he was on the show last month, had correctly predicted the emotional spike value for the end of January, and that coincided finally with the GameStop saga. And after that, he came back on the Three Amigos chat and he talked about this new emotional spike coming up somewhere between March 8 and March 11. Here we are tonight on March 10. So we might be seeing something unfolding here that is the precursor to basically the narrative I guess, breaking out here for this new emotional spike or emotional tension here. So that's very fascinating. Any of you guys see anything else now on Twitter or anywhere else you want to share? Amy, what are you looking at?
Well, I was just looking in the chat. I was also thinking yesterday on Lisa and I show, I had pictures of what's recently happening in DC. Basically, DC is a military zone right now, and you cannot tell me that this has to do with the inauguration. Everything is fenced off, and which is very ironical because, you know, Biden won't allow us to have a fence at the border, but yet they fence everything off at the Capitol building. So in my opinion, this could be a military operation. Anything is up for grabs right now. Hey, Cliff.
Right. So this is the show. Guys, let me bring this down. I believe this was on Jason IV channel, the Three Amigos chat. So let me just link that in the URL for you guys to go check this out. But essentially here, so this one here was that end of January stonk against GameStop, and this was the second emotional spike he was picking up. So again, you can see it here clearly between the 8th and the 11th of February. We seem to be here now, and we could be seeing now something transpiring here. And especially the fact that there's this food distribution center too, you know, is burning my ears here, because I remember clearly that WebBot data hit. Now, I did get a message come up that Cliff cannot make it on the show here tonight. That being said, maybe we can do a special report tomorrow. So Cliff, if you have time tomorrow, just send me an email and I'll be happy to maybe do a quick 25, 30 minute segment with you and see how all of this might tie together. Okay. Anything else from your end, Maryam, or anybody else?
I would like to say today during the hearing, they were blaming Trump now for not calling in the Coast Guard. Just for the record, and you can go to my series, which is a blow by blow, that there were specifically calls for more police, and that for the sake of optics, they denied it. So there were multiple requests, and they were denied. So it's kind of fantastical that they're blaming Trump for not bringing in the Coast Guard. If you think of it, they should be blaming their own selves. They should blame their own selves for putting their lives supposedly at risk, because there were requests for bolstering cops and they didn't. Why are you blaming Trump? Blame yourselves.
Right. Maryam, can you bring me the link again to this 5-part series, and I'll bring it into the chat here for the audience who maybe have not read those yet. Maryam has been hard at work here on this 5-part series, and there's quite a bit of data and face unmasking there of some of the people involved in all of these shenanigans. So that's a really, really cool read. So Maryam, as soon as you give me that link, I'll bring it up for the audience. Going back to Dave, you seem to be questioning here which WebBot hit. I'm not sure if Cliff is out here, but essentially, okay, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, is there something in the reports that talks about manhole covers shooting up, or are we going back to that video that you brought up, and that showed the emotional tension spiking in this time window that we're in right now? So
as far as I remember, Dave, there was no manhole cover blowing up, but there were food riots that would eventually lead into a building that would eventually lead to secrets revealed. So that is the WebBot hit we're talking about here now. So, and it was all coincided probably not with actual food riots, but riots, and also the fact that we have food distribution issues right now because of COVID. So that's why maybe some of that language had all been mixed up in that same forecast. Okay, so Maryam, you're giving me the link here. Let me bring that out, the activist post link here for the audience. So Maryam, as I bring that up, do you want to just maybe set it up for the audience here who are new to this so they understand how to navigate this 5-part series of yours and why this is so important right now?
So we start with, I mean, I was at the Capitol, so it's a firsthand account of being outside of the rotunda and doing a deep dive into the characters. So I didn't mean, I guess if it's 5 parts, that must be like at least 10,000 words. So I take us through and end up with some summary, also referencing Patrick Burney, who I haven't read the 4th and 5th parts, and also had an interaction with Rudy Giuliani. So yeah, it's, well, they all have the same title, but it's basically taking you through the saga. I don't know if you want to like click on one and I could say.
Do you want me to start with number 1 here, Maryam?
Sure.
Overview. Okay, sure. Go ahead.
So I have established the timeline starting from the time that President Trump speaks to about 5:30 when the show is over.
Okay, very good.
Plenty of links, a lot of references to the Ministry of Truth, you know, their narrative supremacy.
Right. Yeah, 1984. Orwell, we are here now, of course. Okay, so folks, activistpost.com, and the link is in the chat right now if you guys want to go check that out. Let me see here. We're running on the 2 hours. So guys, do you want to stay a little bit longer to see if there's any developments here for this explosion, or should we wrap up here and maybe do a special segment tomorrow? What are your thoughts? Either way is fine with me.
I'm gonna sign off.
You're gonna sign up. Okay, I think we should just wrap up then. So let me start our wrap up countdown here, and let me start with Dave. While you're on the show, Dave, how can people reach you here and stay in touch with you here as you are starting your new career here as a professional retiree, monkeying around with Volkswagens?
Well, we'll see how long my retirement lasts, because I think I'll probably be doing some consulting soon. And so a good way to stay in touch with me and connect with me is on LinkedIn. And so you see my profile up there. I invite you to connect with me. If you follow me, you're not going to see many posts until I start pimping my consulting business, where I'll be working with tech support organizations, helping them solve their hardest problems very efficiently and to teach technical stuff well. The link tree is a good way to see anything I might post on the popular social media channels. And I'd love to hear from you. People have responded very nicely, and there's been really some interesting engagement people have had with me, questions and comments. It's really been great. So thanks for helping people connect with me, JC.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. And how about you, Amy? How can we reach you and support your work?
Well, thank you. You can reach me at amy@amyfulmer.com. Long story short, I lost my child. I'm not about to lose my freedoms. I've written a book about my journey on Amazon. Everything goes through my website, amyfulmer.com. And also you can follow me on Twitter at The Grief Goddess. I'm pretty somewhat active. And I just want to say one last thing. Hold the children, all of us, hold them in your thoughts and prayers. They're the ones suffering. I mean, for the older people like me, we know our freedoms and we've had a great life, but I really bleed for the young people today. So please hold them in your thoughts and prayers.
Thank you so much, Amy. And Maryam, last but not least, how can we find you and support you?
I want to just say thank you, Jean-Claude, for you and just who you are and moderating. So thank you, and thank you, Amy and Dave and the audience. And again, I just say love is kind. Be kind to one another. I stand for self-awareness. You can find me on Telegram, Truth Lives Here. And yes, my YouTube channel. That's my second YouTube channel. You can also find me on Gab, which is I'm Lady B, not B Lady, Lady B, and also Twitter. And I think when they want to spread up, so I'm trying to because all my content is all over the place. Right. But right now, I think I'm focusing on growing the Telegram, because we can communicate with one another and have a community, and also freely share and express ourselves.
Very good. And don't forget Honey Colony.
Oh, yes. And I have a piece. Why should we forget Honey Colony? Please buzz on over to honeycolony.com. You can use BeyondMystic to get 15% off. Everything is made in United States of America. I'm also a functional medicine consultant and coach, and probably will be focusing in the future after the George Floyd trial more on just helping people one-on-one. And whether it has to do, my specialty is autoimmune conditions.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. Very, very good. Thank you so much. And last but not least, of course, you can find me here on YouTube. And please do remember to subscribe again to my new backup channel here as we try to rebuild our community. And also on my BeyondMystic.net website, I've created this mailing form now. So if I do get pulled again, I will be able to email you and let you know from where I will be broadcasting. And of course, if you want to support me, you can do so at patreon.com/BeyondMystic. And there you're looking for the Insider Access Pass, where I create extra added value content for our supporters and also put some of the content that's already been deleted, censored, and all of that stuff from other platforms. So there you go, folks. That was episode 4 here of In the Dark with Maryam, Henein, LITECOIN Lisa, Amy Fulmer, and Dave Bronin. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. I love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.